when he was setting up Kabbage, someone actually pointed a gun at him.
We were setting up a small office. This was in Indira Nagar. When we put up the Kabbage board, everybody thought it's the new pub in town called Kabbage. And people walked in. But when we were building the office, 3-4 gentlemen come in. There was a local katta that was kind of pointed at and demanded some money. I'm like, I don't have any money.
So Kaushik, I think the first thing that a lot of people, want to ask you, you have managed thousands of folks, thousands of engineers, AI specialists, analytics folks. When you look at them, when you look at hiring them, what do you think was something special these guys were doing, girls were doing when they were 18 or 19 in their first year of college? What is that one common thing you see in most successful people in your organization that they were following when they were young?
So it's a single word. It's called hunger, and it can be for the skill that we are honing in. It can be for the information. It can be for whatever we are doing. But as long as that hunger is out there, and that changes over a period of time. When I started, the hunger had a different definition. Now, after like almost 24 years, it has got a different meaning. But then over a period, that stays on. That's the fire that propels you. When you start at 18, 19 or 20, the hunger is for how can I make a difference? Because at the end of the day, whatever skill we are talking about, whatever discipline we are talking about, whatever stream we are talking about, it's all about being differentiated. Being differentiated from the group, giving others a reason for connecting with you. And I think that's where I would pin it down, the hunger.
So Kaushik, when you talk about hunger, let's say I am a 18-year-old guy, 19-year-old girl. I am studying in Jain University via Futurense Uni. I have the best faculty on this planet. I am studying things like AI, data engineering, and many such things. So I would think in my head ki, chalo, I am not doing a basic computer science, or I am not doing what the rest of the audience, or what my friends or my relatives would have done. So what more should I do? Matlab, extra kya kar sakta hu? What do you think about that?
It's an interesting question, Raghav, because if I look back, in our days, we didn't have much options, right? So today we have a lot of options of thinking, even exploring different avenues beyond. Mare zamane mein, it was just about whether you go to IIT, JEE, which I could not. I could not make it, and then my father was a civil service officer, so he wanted me to become an IAS, which I went. I could not, and then tried different avenues. But I think just understanding, and today we have the opportunity of exploring if we can marry the passion with what I'm doing. Like if I love traveling, and I'm sure many of us here love traveling. So if I love traveling and if I can make a career out of it, it's possible. If I love food, blogging, and if I want to make a career out of it, it's possible. Now, there are a lot of other things that can happen out of it, right? And that kind of comes in the periphery. But first thing, again, one of the things that I was talking about hunger, right? So it kind of propels you to identify what is that you want to do. Now, for the first 3-4 years, it might not be the way you want it, but you still need to have that vision for yourself. कि मुझे आगे जाके यही करना है, and then what you work around is arranging the means and ways of getting there. What helps through your education is making you equipped to have those skill sets, those resources within you, around you, look for you, so that when an opportunity comes, or when you are shaping up an opportunity, you are able to grab it, or you're able to understand whether it's for you or it's not for you. But it's very important to very clearly know these are the things that I would like to do. It's very important to know these are the things that I will do and these are the things I will not do, right? Few things from your academic life will tell you that, okay, I've studied these, so these are the probably no-brainer entry point for me. I've studied computers, I've studied quantified sciences, I've studied commerce, so probably I can start here. Of course, you can start there and start there, learn, stay hungry to learn new things. First 3-4 years, invest in your learning, building up the foundation, because it's a long journey. So I think first few years I would encourage, invest in building the foundation of what your version after 10 years would look like.
I think very well said, Kaushik, and a lot of us here, right, we are thinking that, one day we want to be like someone like Kaushik. managing thousands of people, working in a billion-dollar, multi-billion-dollar organization, having all the best cars, best house in the world. I think that's all we think of. But now, one question that a lot of us are worried about is, ki yaar, can we also have fun in college? To be someone like you, did someone like you have fun in college? And if you did, explain कि क्या मजे किया आपने college में, and how can we sort of learn from that?
With this group, I don't know if we want to go there, but so there are two versions of this. Tell me which one you guys want to know. There is a very cushioned version, which is more for talking in general, and there is a very candid version. So which one do you want to know?
Candid. I think guys, candid.
So this was again just my first year of post-grad. In my grad, I was a no one, like just kind of mugged up stuff and did.
Were you like a nerd kind of person?
No. I was never. I was more sporty. Cricket was life. Studies came in like number 3 or number 4. Cricket was life.
What was number 1? Cricket.
Cricket. Grad mein cricket. But then when I met someone who I married later, that became number 1.
So you met someone in college?
Of course. Right. So that became number 1. So I'll take us back to a time when, and I still remember, this was about April in my first year, Presidency College, Calcutta. Today it's an university, but that time it used to be under Calcutta University. I was summoned by the dean because my attendance was 2% in the whole year.
What were you doing? Like, where were you?
Number 1 and number 2. So that time, number 1 was, dating, of course, and then number 2 was cricket.
You're giving a very bad example to people.
Yeah, that's why I said, you guys choose what you want to hear, because this is reality.
Right.
When I look back, the learning out of that was whatever you do, see, both are important. You cannot be in one place and think about the other space. If you are studying, even if it's for half an hour, even if it is an hour, be in that hour. If you are investing time somewhere else, following your passion, be there. Don't think about कि कल exam है यार मैंने वो नहीं पढ़ा है लेकिन वो बाद में है. I think it's all about being authentic to yourself, because I was talking about that hunger, right? We'll stick to that. As long as you are authentic to yourself, that fire continues to burn, right? Whenever you are investing time, effort, resources, your mind, I think time is the biggest capital. Be in that space, give your 100% into it. If you feel this is not going to add value to me and I'm not going to stick with this for long, probably that's the point where you decide, okay, do I need to invest my time in it?
But a lot of people are confused about focus, right? Like right now you said you were playing cricket, you were dating someone, you did well also in college. तो क्या focus कैसे करें मतलब?
पढ़ाई भी कर लेता था. I think we came out my post graduation. So I did my post graduation in genetics and molecular biology.
Wow, what is that?
That's for another podcast session. We'll reserve that, but I'm sure the folks here would know. So genetics continues to still remain a personal passion. And at some point after 20 years of corporate journey, I'm still able to identify certain aspects of Darwin's postulates with the way we approach managing or strategizing things and go through difficult situations. It's very, very similar, very, very elementary, but we'll keep it stored for another session, right?
Sure.
But what I was saying is it's important to identify where you would focus, because focus is not doing one thing for a long time. Focus is being able to absorb the maximum out of where you're investing your time. So if I'm sitting and doing things for half an hour, and if I'm able to absorb it and I'm deeply connected with it, I'm deeply able to invest in it, that's where I think you will get the maximum results. We can still sit with in front of our computers, in front of our iPads, and look at something, but think of something else. So that's really not using time.
So Kaushik, for most of the folks here, the one thing that is sort of in their head the most is their first job. Again, abhi these guys are in their first year of college, but somewhat in their head is ki, how will I get that first job and what should that first job look like? So tell us a bit about your first job. How much were you earning in that? And what is your advice to them about the first job?
Interesting question. First job, how much I was earning. I started off as a call center agent. It was in Delhi, Gurgaon, and I clearly remember my take home for my first paycheck was 9,716 rupees.
Wow.
right? This was in 2001. So I think learning a lot, and just I said that I postgraduate in genetics and molecular biology, so that didn't happen for whatever reasons. And if you guys remember, we spoke about a term called change as I walked in. So life will throw you many aspects where you have to encounter change. You said, that many of us here would dream of having a dream first job. It may or may not happen. Does the world end if it does not happen, right? Does the road stop there? And how do you continue to motivate yourself to get to that space where you can still come around and do things which you wanted to? My first job was as a call center agent, where I had to unlearn whatever I had learned in college. They are two different planets. Presidency College, genetics and molecular biology, aspiring for higher studies, academics, going to MIT. That didn't happen. Coming into a corporate life, for me the whole corporate setup was new. I couldn't think of this setup because, again, coming from a family which was more, kind of public sector administrative, so it was very new for me. And then coming and seeing this whole setup, getting used to talk to people who are in a different time zone, different country, understanding the business, understanding what they used to call soft skills. And I have a problem with the word soft, but then they used to call that soft skills. And I was trained in voice and accent, how to talk, how to go, and all of those things. Everything was very new for me. So first few months, I just didn't know what I was doing. So my first job was wearing a headset, putting in, kind of some digital tabs and calling for payments.
So looking at your career journey, one thing that I'm realizing is that your first job does not define how your life or your career would look like.
Never. It does not, it should not.
So we should not worry about it that much.
We should not. As I said, that it may happen, it may not happen, right? What is important is not losing focus or losing sight of where you want to end up after 10, 20 years, right? It can be you want to end up with a lot of money, or doing something, or being there, or being in a country, or being with your family, whatever. The goal, the career, the journey is set by you alone. Others around you, be it your mentors, be it your teachers, guides, be organizations like Futurense, corporates like us, all can facilitate that journey. But to each individual here, each of you, the journey starts with you. It is your journey, your career. You decide where you want to go. Everything else will fall in place, or you will work hard so that those things fall in place. I think understanding that is very important. And across, once my genetics did not happen to me, that is where I think I realized that, okay, this is not the first time, and these things will happen, that I want something, I will not get it, but that does not mean that the world ends. And how can we make best of what we have? So either you can, give a shape to something that somebody else has given you, or you take and shape up your own journey. So I think either way, you should have the confidence, or build the confidence over a period of time to follow the journey, follow the vision that you have for yourself.
So Kaushik, a lot of people here, right? And this is one thing, a question that most of you ask me, that there are two kinds of companies that I can do a job in. One is a very big MNC, which has hundreds of offices across the world, $1 billion. And the other is a startup, which is part of this India story, India digital story, which is a young company. So can you tell us from your experience, because on one side, you have obviously worked in very big MNCs, but on the other side, in some form or the other, you have had your own startups. So can you tell us from your journey, what are some pros and cons of working in a big company versus a startup?
Good question, very valid, never-ending battle. We started off, so I'll throw a few terms. I think at the end of this session, if each one of us, each one in this room can keep those one words in mind and work towards it, I think that would be where I feel one of the success metrics of this. One word I threw in as I came in was change. Then we spoke about hunger, right? We spoke about vision, ownership. The new word I'll throw in this question is trade-off. There is always a trade-off in whatever we do, right? We choose a stream A versus a stream B. We choose a friend A versus a friend B, right? We choose a career A versus a career B. in this case it is startup versus let's say a corporate, there's always a trade-off. Each has its own merits and demerits, pros and cons, pluses and deltas, but at the end of the day, what is important is understanding those trade-offs and then making an informed decision, and then finally staying accountable that you have made the decision. And this is where I said that it's very important that you make the decision and not somebody else. Now, startups bring in a lot more vibe, excitement on the outside of it, right? The amount of learning that happens, because it's not structured, what you try to accomplish, building a product, selling a product, I think there is a lot of iterative strategic thought process that goes into it. So whatever you have learned, you get to practice that in a very hands-on way, in a very free way, so that your own inputs get in there. There's a lot of sweat, lot of rigor goes into it. It's not easy to start in a startup and still make a mark, right? Of course, for many of us, what is relevant is there is money. Money is out there, but then everything comes at a cost, and this is where I said it's a trade-off, right? Long hours, you don't know how successful the product at the end of the day is going to be. So these are some of the elements which you can think and consider.
So one pro you're saying is learning to work in a startup.
Tremendous amount of it. Tremendous amount.
And one con is this work-life balance debate that we are having. Like lot of work.
Absolutely. Look, I'll give you my example. Of course, I started with GE, spent about 3 years in Gurgaon. Then I moved to IBM in Bangalore. Then about 10 years with Target, all in corporate setup. So by the 15th year of my journey, I had done a lot within the corporate space, big companies, deep pockets, managing businesses of, millions and millions of dollars impact and all of that, right? But then when Kabbage happened to me, of course, I did not join Kabbage as a fresher, but then I was the person who did not have a second person when the company was being set up.
So Kabbage is a fintech unicorn. Was a fintech unicorn?
Yes, it's a fintech unicorn based out of Atlanta. We started in Bangalore 2015, 2020 we winded up, and finally Kabbage is now an Amex company acquired by Amex.
Amex is American Express.
Yeah. So that journey, I was with Kabbage for about 6 years. From zero to we went up to 250, 300 across all disciplines, data science, tech ops, and prod ops and all of that. And the amount of learning I had in those 5-6 years was a lot more than I've had in the previous 15 years of my corporate, right? So on one end, you have learning, you have, if many of you have done off-roading with your vehicle, so you can compare it with off-roading or going, in your car in an autopilot in a highway, right? You are going, you are cruising, you will reach there, things are comfortable, right? And then when you are going for off-roading, you have to apply yourself a lot. There is uncertainty, there is a lot of turbulence. Life for me for the first 1.5 years while setting up of Kabbage was extremely difficult, both personally and professionally, because there were so many unknowns.
Can I just add one thing? So guys, when he was setting up Kabbage, there's a very interesting incident that happened. Someone actually pointed a gun at him. Can you tell us about that?
This is a story, I think I should monetize it going forward, right? So yeah, we were setting up a small office. This was in Indira Nagar, 100 feet
You guys
road.
know what Indira Nagar is? Yeah?
Of course, right?
Just checking.
Yeah, because see, Indira Nagar, 100 feet road, you would know, because when we put up the Kabbage board, everybody thought it's the new pub in town called Kabbage, and people walked in. But when we were building the office, and it was still being built up, and I would be the only person because we had nobody else. I was sitting there hiring, seeing the built up rubbles and stuff out there. 3-4 gentlemen come in from so-called political affiliation and demanded some money. Like, you're setting up an office, you've got a new Airtel connection, you give us some money. And I'm like, I don't have any money. And that's when there was a local katta that was kind of pointed at. Now when I look back, you and I can sit here, smile about it, but that was very scary. And then
but an experience, right? So startups give you that experience that you will never forget.
I don't wish that startups give you that experience, right? It's not fun. Of course, now it's fun. But I think that's the moment where I can say I did an Oscar-winning performance, bringing in all my vulnerability.
Right.
मैं यहाँ पे अकेला हूँ. I don't know who the owners are. They don't pay me and all of that. So it was like brief 2 to 3 minutes, but the most scariest part of my life. But yes, it happened, and it happened because of the startup. It would not happen in a regular corporate. But the regular corporate, I mean, when I would call back, my G and Target journey, I think the amount of learning I've had in terms of shaping of my leadership values, I think that's something I owe to my target journey, about 10 years. Being in proximity with some amazing leaders.
And international leaders as well, right? Like,
Globally, I mean, the global exposure that you get to start with. I think, as much as I say that I have learned a lot from Kabbage, but Kabbage was possible because I had spent 15 years with, these big organizations. So this is where your trade-offs come in.
so learnings from these international leaders, right? Let us say I start in a big MNC. Do you think I will get access to working with international teams at the beginning of my career?
Absolutely, yes. And again, there are a lot of ifs and buts. It depends on the team that you get in. It depends on the portfolio that you get in, whether that's a end client-facing portfolio or internal. But if you are curious, if you are able to demonstrate that you are learning and you're impacting, I think the opportunities come pretty fast, right? When I went to GE, I was absolutely a novice. I did not know anything about this corporate world, but within 3 to 4 months, because of whatever reasons, I was able to make an impact, and I kept changing roles. I think one thing that happened well for me, because I was so curious and I was able to experiment, and more importantly, and this is probably very valid for this group here, what's important is if we do not have the baggage कि मुझे यही काम करना है और कुछ है तो I will not do it. I don't like this. I think that is something I would encourage all of you to not have, at least for the first 2 to 3 years, right? If you have the skill, any learning, any exposure you get brings in that learning. Take that, because आगे चल के whatever you are learning comes into play. Like when I took up Kabbage, and this is a personal experience, when I took up Kabbage, I did not know what a corporate governance is, like how to run an entity.
What is corporate governance for people who don't know? Can you explain in very simple terms?
Functional, like you talk about business operations where you have a process, you are talking about technology operations, writing a code. So these are functions in a different company, right? And then you have your administrative stuff, right? कि घर कैसे चलता है? So you have right now, if I look at it, like or if we look into the college.
Can you explain from a college viewpoint, college versus a corporate, how it is structured, because people will relate more to it.
Absolutely. So, देखो college में you have you go to the class. Usually, when we think of a college, we see a classroom or a seminar room, and then we have our guides, our coaches coming in and talking about it. Usually, that's the setup we think about. Kabhi kabhar there's a bigger auditorium and we gather like this. But there is a lot of infrastructural governance and administrative stuff that happens, right? There are a lot of staff that come in here, both teaching and non-teaching. You have a lot of different curriculums happening. You have relations to maintain internally and externally. So there's a lot that happens just beyond that teaching activity. Teaching, there is a core activity. Teaching, education, curriculum, or kind of imparting, that is the core activity. But then in and around, there are so many peripheral stuff that happens. And to make that happen is a huge task. I mean, at one point, I'm sure we all should be grateful and express our gratitude to all the administrative staff that keeps things running. I mean, they keep the lights on, and since they keep the lights on, and this includes your housekeeping, this includes the person who guards your doors, this includes your finance guys who make things happen. There's a lot that needs to happen to just keep that core activity happening. So I did not know anything of that how to run a company. I knew how to take a business, improve it, generate money out of it, give an impact, be it data analytics or be it technology operations or be it product. 15 years, down my career. But when I went to Kabbage, it was me and Google, and we did not even have anybody else helping me out. So I think that learning was very different, but the confidence that I had to get into that journey came from my exposures I had at Target or GEs or IBMs. Whenever, so I had a core role in these organizations, and this is what I was trying to tell, that you will have a core role, but then there are a lot of learnings that you get outside the core role. Like sometimes my, senior VP in Target would tell me that, hey, I want to do a town hall of 500 people, and this was very early, like I was like 2 or 3 years in the organization, and I need someone to own it and arrange it. Now that was not my core role, that was not my day job, right? But getting that problem statement to a result needed a lot of collaboration, coordination, thinking of, okay, what should happen? And there's a lot of, I would say, wireframing that goes in, connections that go in. I think getting there and a lot of learning through those experiences. Or at some point, one of my leaders would say that this is my cost center, and can you help me run my cost center and ensure that my expenses are, and that was again not my job. But since I had interest in learning and picking up those small things, Later, when Kabbage happened, each of those granules through my GE or IBM or Kabbage days, each of them came into play. And now, because I had been through a Kabbage experience and a corporate experience, these roles are probably, you know what, I can pull in that example from that journey and can, kind of modify and give it here. So every experience is important. Do not have the baggage of that this is not my work. I did not study to, come and do this. First 3-4 years, invest in yourself, building the brand, building those blocks. After 3-4 years, you will figure out, no, this comes easy to me. Sometimes we are mystified when we are in college, and I was too, and whatever I studied till my postgrad didn't work out for me.
Yeah.
And one of the other things, and I think, this is more personal, I shared with you last time, till my postgrad, I used to stammer a lot. In my postgrad, we had to present a paper on olive ridley turtles. We had a project, and this is more for the curriculum, but I had to present in front of 250 people in Presidency College. It was an afternoon. I could not even utter a single word. So coming from there, working on the deficiencies and working on, sitting here talking to you.
How did you do that, right? Because a lot of people here, they keep watching these YouTubers, these influencers, and think that why can't I speak like them? But then they are scared, or I don't know what is happening. They think they are not good enough. So what should you tell them? What would you tell them? How do they work on their public speaking abilities?
3 or 4 things, pretty basic. One, first, it starts with belief.
Believe in yourself.
Believe in yourself. It will happen, right? And if you don't believe in yourself, the thing I just told you, it's not a story, it's real life. I am here. I don't think I've stuttered a single time till the time I'm here, right?
Yes.
It still happens at times, right? It's not completely gone, but I know when it's coming and I know how to mask it. But there was a time where I would not be able to speak even a single word in 30 seconds or 20 seconds. So it has happened, right? So it starts with belief. Then it starts with very structurally figuring out how to work on it, right? And public speaking is very, very mystified. It's just about like a cycling or swimming. The more you practice, the more you get master at it. And I think it starts with shedding off the inhibition, that fear. The fear is always there. Even today, when I was walking in, I was like, okay, how is it going to go? That's always there, and a bit of fear is very important, because otherwise you feel like you are overconfident, right? So a bit of that tingy nerve is very important, but it starts with a belief that it is possible. Human mind has got tremendous abilities.
But now when we talked about human mind, there is another mind that we are all very worried about, is this artificial intelligence, AGI, that we were just discussing before you came, that how by the time these guys graduate, the world they live in would be different, would not be the same. The jobs they would do would be different. So now firstly, according to you, for these guys, if you could really, really simplify, what is actually artificial intelligence? Most of them already know, but they would love to hear your perspective. And how do you think that will change the lives of all of us around us?
Interesting question. The debate never ends. But to simply start with, pick those 2 words, artificial and intelligence. Intelligence is something where things can happen without being told, right? And artificial is the way we define that there is no human intervention. And that's on the face of it. But if we kind of peel it off, if we lift the hood, what's the reality of it? I mean, we hear a lot. We heard a lot when we had, big data coming in, right? Or blockchain coming in. And then again, in our days when quality and Six Sigma came in. And these are all, guys, a tool in the toolbox. At the end of the day, this is how I see it. This is my personal POV, that artificial intelligence is a tool. It's a tremendously powerful tool, right? At the end of the day, it's still a human who's deciding where it needs to be used, how it needs to be used, and what is going to happen. Now, what it does is, in a very smart way, reduces a lot of human effort. You talk about self-driving cars, you talk about assistants. I'm sure many of us use the Siris and Alexas of the world, right? In some shape or form, they are also a form of intelligence, right? But what is important is understanding how to use this tool. Nuclear energy as well is a very powerful tool, and we have both the uses and disuses of it. Today, as much as we talk about artificial intelligence, it has got many ways where we can use it for improving our lives, moving our lives forward, but there are many ways where it can be retrogressive as well. And I think what is important is understanding what the elements of it are, and being responsible in where we are using artificial intelligence. It's not a demon. It's not going to take jobs away.
You sure?
I'm sure.
They should not be worried.
Nobody should be worried, because if you are worried about artificial intelligence, you should be worried about change. And if you are worried about change, then you are not moving forward, right? Change is going to happen. How many of us here have used postage stamps? I'm talking about just the college code. I'm sure I see some. Of course, I'm sure you must have used it. I mean, in my first, so you asked about the first job, right?
Yeah.
Few of my first job applications to government jobs were looking at the newspaper, taking a printout, putting it in a postage envelope, putting a stamp and posting it.
We've never done.
I'm talking about mid-90s, right?
Yeah.
We are a generation who saw those old dial-up phones. Utha you would put 0 and it would all come back. And now we are talking about augmented reality, and we have seen the length and breadth of it. If we were not able to grasp this change, we would not have been here, right? Today, we all have a mobile phone. I'm sure 80%. How many of us here do not have a mobile phone with you right now? I mean, it can be the case. I'm just doing a stock check.
Yes.
Phones are there, right? We have used phones. We are very used to our phones. In general, if we do not have connectivity, either mobile or WhatsApp or whatever, we feel like we don't have something.
We feel handicapped.
We feel handicapped, right? We feel, right? But there was a time where we could do a lot more without having phone. So it is, but we have adjusted. Human beings have adjusted a lot with the improving technology. Just think AI as another step towards that. If you fear it, you will not be able to be friends with it. It's important to be friends with it. It's important to understand how it's going to make a difference, right? As a parent, I had to learn Chat GPT so that I could help my daughter when I don't have time to do her projects.
Wow.
So had to learn, right? I mean, so this is where the hunger point comes in, that if you are moving forward in your career, technology is something you have to embrace. Along with, so technology, think of it as a change. It will change every 2 to 3 years. Today we are talking about AI. After 3 years, something new will come. Then another thing will come, and you have to constantly stay on top of it, understand the pluses and deltas of it, and figure out how you can use it. First of all, how you can learn. Not necessarily you have to go into the coding level of it. I mean, I at this point cannot go down to coding AI or building those prompts and stuff, but just understanding how I can use it. If tomorrow I want to have a self-driving car, whatever, I need to know what are the pros and cons of it. So understanding is very important. Then it's a choice whether you use it and how you use it.
Perfect. So I think, Kaushik, one last question from my side before I open the floor for any questions that the folks have. If you had to sort of retrospect from your journey or from the other leaders that you have seen, what are some mistakes you think people should not do? Because you have seen many people do that. So that, these guys, when they're 18, 19, someone as senior as you can tell it to them, probably they'll take it more seriously.
I think, so I have made a lot of mistakes. I think if I go back in one of my very early interviews when I was trying to come out of GE and get a better job with a better package and stuff, I went into an interview and a very senior person was taking it, and I, in an attempt of glorifying my achievements, I ended up pulling down my boss and my team, right? And this was probably the second year of my career. And the reason I bring this out is just to instill that whatever you do, whether you are an entrepreneur doing your own stuff, following your own dreams, or you are in a corporate working for somebody else, it's always a teamwork. Never ever disrespect or do not have a thing of I'm not grateful for this for the teamwork, because it's a team which make things happen. And have this in you when you are in a corporate or when you go in. Try to understand how you can play a role. It's very similar to how you do it in a family when you go home. Like, this is not my job, I'll not do it. You try and help your folks, your parents, your siblings, and try and do whatever you can. I think having that feeling of team and understanding that no success, no milestones, no accomplishments is individual. I'm sure many of us here idealize, our sports persons, our media, movie stars or other big figures. And this is what you keep hearing, from them. Like, no success is achieved by a single person individually without the help from the others. Even in a game of cricket, you cannot even score a single run without the other person running for you. Right, so understanding that is very important, and I think staying authentic to what you believe in. I remember another interview where I was asked very early. It was my first year. I wanted to come out of GC. I was giving a lot of interviews. Very early, I was asked, like, what if you do not score this interview? Like, you get through it. And I remember, I don't remember what I said, but I remember I spoke with true authenticity. This is how I will approach it. And I think that resonated well. I made through it, though I did not take up the job. So my nugget here for you guys is, whatever you do, have a very strong conviction, have a very strong belief, and be authentic to yourself. You can, in an interview, cook up a story, right? But if you cannot follow the story for a long time, you have to be authentic, you have to be very true to what you want. And in today's world, I think there are multiple ways of practicing how you can ace interviews, how you can ace conversations, difficult conversations, curveball questions and stuff like that. Be open. I think being open, being hungry to learn more, that's very important. And things will change around you. Things will happen where things don't happen the way you want it. So be open to get that unsettled feeling, and when it happens, don't get unsettled. Things will come back. Things will happen for a reason.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Kaushik. Guys, a big round of applause for Kaushik. This was phenomenal.